Hi everybody, a very warm welcome to my channel, Nelly the Narcissist, who is not actually a narcissist. Welcome to episode 3 of my new Survivor series, Resident Evil. So why I called this series Resident Evil, for anybody new, is because not only does it explore the evil that takes place inside our homes, behind closed doors, with malignant narcissists, but many survivors of narcissistic abuse, they've lived experiences that people would only really expect to find in horror films. And yet it seems that horror films have been stealing the ideas from real life. In today's survivor story, it's really no different because the supernatural events that happened in his life and in the 30 years married to a malignant narcissist, they're truly unbelievable. And yet these stories, they're not random because there are so many patterns within all of these occurrences that come up time and time again. And if you resonate and if you've shared anything in this experience in today's video, then please do drop a comment below because I'd love to show just how common these experiences are. And it was this survivor's wish to begin his story with some everyday experience and set the scene. And then after, we're going to go into the strange things that happened in the past 30 years. You see, he wants to come from a very rounded place, and he wants to let you all know that he's not basing the entire experience on the supernatural, even though truly wild things did happen. And I know it's hard for many people to imagine how can anybody stay with a malignant narcissist for 30 years. Two things really to keep in mind. One is only in the last decade, really, that information started to come out about this topic. Otherwise, it was completely unknown. And two, these people, they weaken us at close proximity. We can rarely see what is right in front of us. So I often think the longer that you stay, sometimes the harder it is to get away. Plus, you're also going to hear in this story that this survivor's ex had a lot of power in their house. She was holding this energy there, and it was tremendously negative and heavy. And these environments, they're designed to keep you trapped. And I don't believe for a second it's just human power that is at work. I really don't. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, Ephesians. So I'm going to be sharing this survivor story in just a second, and everything is anonymous, as always. And in this episode, I'm going to be sharing my reaction and thoughts at key points along the way. So I hope that you enjoy the video.
First of all, Nelly, I want to tell you, I am thankful to you personally, because I'm aware of this situation since 2014, and obviously I was learning all over the place, you know, finding every possible information. And by the way, this topic is not even well known, even from the professionals. If you go to a psychiatrist, if they're not, especially on this topic, they're not very aware of the dynamics of this. And it's also a very no topic with your friends either, because nobody gets it. Everybody thinks that you're exaggerating it, or you're too sensitive. I was raised in the capital city of my country. I was kind of naive because I left my house when I was 27 years old. My parents were very controlling. Even when I was at the university, my mom was calling the university head guy, and she was telling him, if you see my son, tell him that he should drink his orange juice, you know, like this kind of controlling. And my dad was like, you know, he's still like that. Very smiley guy outside the house, but in the house he's very disciplined, and I was always trying to get away from this environment. Obviously I couldn't do it until 27, which is a very late age actually, even for that time. I was working on the music business, and I already did my first album because of that. Another guy called me and he told me that he wants to do my second album, and he offered a deal, and he called me for this to his place. But at the same time, there was another girlfriend of mine, not a girlfriend but a friend, nice friend, and she was in a rock band, and she wanted me to give songs to her because she knew that I was writing songs. So the two things came together, and I took the ride, and I never forget that I borrowed money from my grandfather, and when I was together with this girl to give the song, I met my future wife. It was around 1995, and we just seen each other a couple of weeks, practically, on and off. If you count that, maybe 5 times. My first intuition was she was not very talkative. silent type. Looks very cool, by the way. And it looks very deep because she's not talking too much. She make you feel like she's really into you. And then it was, I guess, the third time that I was, the first time we met, the second time we went out, and the third time we had a wonderful evening with her. I took her to somewhere to eat, and for me it was the first date. I got her a gift, and I thought it was a very magical day. It was amazing for me. I had to go back to my city because I didn't have my house yet, and I came back after 1 week, and the gift I bought for her was still in its wrapped in the car after 1 week. That was the first red flag, because even if you buy me one little piece of gum, I would cherish it. It's representing that day for me. But it was there, just wrapped up in the car, back in her car. Wow, I was like. And the second thing I realized when I looked into her eyes, it was like I call it shark eyes. Deep, dark void. And back then I didn't know anything about this at all. But I was incredibly surprised because we were sitting very close, and I was staring at her while I was talking to her. And there is light in people's eyes that you can see this. And then, by the way, because of my profession, probably I'm a super empath. Because even someone comes to my place, and even back then, I don't know this person, I know nothing about him, but I observe his aura and his story, and I have to write this music back. Write it and give it back to this person. If I'm not a super empath, it's impossible to accomplish this. And I call myself a people reader, like a psychologist, not professionally psychologist, but I read people. Even the little mimics on their faces, I get it. And what I saw on that dinner table was, it shocked me. There was nothing in there. Now I call it nothing in there. Back then I told myself, wow, what a emptiness.
We all receive red flags in the beginning. These are the things that don't quite add up. And this is a prime example of we don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. Until we actually know about narcissists, we miss these signs, or rather we don't miss them because we do recognize them, but we don't quite know what they are. The unopened present was a signal that she really didn't care. Not about the gift, not about him, the experience, nothing. Nothing was cherished by her. He was the one falling in love, and he was seeing stars. But for her, she was seeing something very different. She was seeing an opportunity. So what's reflected also in her shark eyes was a complete lack of empathy, emotion, and humanity. Not all narcissists have these shark eyes, by the way, because I've seen narcissists have very beautiful looking shiny eyes that seem to be full of light. And yet there is still that void and darkness when you go behind them.
Incredible things happened at that time in my life. Right things happened at the right moment. So suddenly I had this offer, and I got a big money on the table. Not big money, but for someone 27. Even I tried to get away from my parents' house for 5-6 years. I couldn't achieve this, but suddenly everything solved, and I got the money, and now I rented the house. Just like that. In one day, I got the money and I got the house. And I told my girlfriend back then, my future wife, I said, I'm going to my city and I'm going to talk with my parents, the controlling ones. And then you come to me after a week and let's pack me up and let's go back together. But I'm not expecting her to move in with me, because she already has a house. My imagination is, so now we're officially in the same city. And now we have enough time to live each other and live and learn, experience, and, let's see what's going on, But no, we came back and she grabbed her bags and she moved in. Just like that. To be honest, I welcomed it. You know why? Because I was insecure also. Because I was just out from a very controlling parents' house and I have a pattern there. And now I have a superior again in the house, so I welcomed it. But I didn't tell her to move in with me. Around that time, my mom is not a very easy person, but my mom didn't like And my sister didn't very happy with this relationship, but I didn't care, of course. I wouldn't expect it from my children now. If I don't like someone, I can warn them, but I wouldn't push it. Later, and by the way, we've been together only for 2 years in this house. And because of what she was doing at the time, she was not attending school for 3 years. And I was the one who refreshed the situation and sent her to school every day for 2 years. And then she finished the school. By that time, she's not working anymore. She's all dependent with me. But I was the one to tell this to her. Because the first thing she told me was how she was traumatized because of financial control of her parents. And she said, this money that you're controlling right now, it's all your money, she said, at the beginning in the house. And I told her, no, it's our money. Let me give you all of it. You control it. That was my first mistake right there. I gave everything, no questions asked. And that fired back on me when we were divorcing, because she wanted everything. I know nothing. I only know when we're out of money, she tells me we're out of money, and I find the money.
So it was this survivor's wish to get to know his love interest, because she was a narcissist, though. She was not interested in this. Because when they've got their eyes on a bullseye, it's you, because of what you can do for them, they move in fast to stake their claim and ensure you're captured. And the way that they move so fast is actually the sign that something really sinister is going on. But we rarely see it because, we think that they want to be with us because of love. We don't realize there's no heart and soul inside that person. If we did, we'd run. If you notice that his family, his mum and his sis, they didn't approve of his choice in her. They felt that something was really off. They didn't want their son basically being with this woman. And this, by the way, is quite common in families, although sometimes it can happen in the reverse, where the family or family members do actually like the narcissist, but that's actually rarer. When people are very connected to themselves and they love you and they have an intuition, they also have this instinct and they know, you see, who you are, they know your energy and they care about you. And I've seen so many times when good friends and family members really do not like the narcissist. But unfortunately, we can't warn anybody. People need to live their own experiences to get the lessons themselves, to get the learning and to gain the wisdom. But this survivor has expressed that he's very much of an empath. And not only this, but clearly very generous, warm and open-hearted person, which is an empath anyway. But in addition, this survivor was also quite well known if you were in his industry, which she was. So he had the character that was really going to be easy to manipulate because he saw the good and was naive and inexperienced. And she knew that she had the upper hand because she was completely camouflaged as love. And with his social positioning, she thought it would be a great opportunity for her to get a leg up. Now, narcissists, particularly malignant narcissists, are predators. Predators, they get to know the workings of their prey. So they know how to manipulate. She knew that he was generous and he wanted to show and prove his love. And I'm quite sure that she would have concocted the whole story of her parents being very controlling with money to get control of his money. I've seen it many times. This is what they do. They invent stories, they manipulate conversations because they're fully aware what your answer is going to be.
I always wanted to be a dad. And I was very serious with her because I thought she was, now I know that she was mirroring me. But back then I thought she's not talking so much, but she's exactly like me. She loves the same music with me, same movies. I thought, this is it, amazing. And I fell in love. It was love for me. I was not following the red flags at all. There is this thing about narcissistic disorder, I read it somewhere. They call it PHIL, P-H-I-L. And it's a test, they say, for the narcissist, that they test you with this P-H-I-L. And if you fulfill this, even the three of them, you're accepted. So my PHIL was probably not only 4, but it was 8, something like double PHIL I was, in that situation. I was the one who wants to be a father. You know, I was born for this. If you give me 10 kids, it's okay. I love it. When she was pregnant, she was not very happy about it. But I can understand. She was 22, so she's going to school still, and it makes sense. I get it. At the same time, I'm working for 3 different projects, and I have very little time to sleep because I don't like insecurities in life, especially for financial things, because now I feel very responsible for these people. I am a responsible guy. I promised her that she's never going to need money from her parents anymore. After 1 year in that house, we moved to another house where my elder son was born. And by the way, what I'm telling you here in this video, I am not an expert. I'm not accusing or diagnosing anything about anybody. This is my experience, personal. She started to work, and we had a rhythmic life, and I start to realize some interesting things. For example, the worst days are her birthdays. I later made a research about this, and birthdays with this personality is a special bad day. For example, any present or gift you give her, she hates them all. Because I learned so fast the pattern, so I try to fix things. I'm this fixer. One time I made a surprise birthday, called people. It backfired so bad. And then I shifted into another stage. I told her just week before, I was telling her, what do you want for this one? I'm gonna make it happen for you. For the last day, she says she wants nothing. No matter how hard I try, like cesarean, we're not giving birth to truth by normal ways, but I'm doing a cesarean, and she's still not giving it to me. That's what she wants. It's unbelievable. And that day comes, and she's more angry and sad now because I already ruined it with my questions. And then I stopped buying presents, gifts. I started to give her a kind of budget money so she can choose her own gift. After my first son was born, it started to become a parent competition. For me, being parents should be a collaboration with your partner. When someone is too much controlling or too much, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you didn't blah, blah, blah. I think this should be balanced by 2 people. And my first concern was she was raising the aggression bar too high. I was usually asking her, now you're acting this too much for this little thing. If something really happens really bad in the future, what are you going to do then? There is no any compression limit anymore. You are already there. Are you going to call the army for the next step? You know, why are you doing this in that way? After some years, it started to, I was scared unknowingly because of the balance that she's given me, this energy that she's not happy with the situation. So I realized I started to handle the situations more from her filter. For example, I'm a justice person. I see that there is an unjust situation and the kid is right because what he's been accused is not the reality. Before I was getting in between and I was telling like a lawyer, but I was there. It was not like that. And then she was blaming me with this. You did this in front of the kid and now he doesn't care about me because you're in blah, 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 you know. After I shifted in myself, even if I know it's an unjust situation, I was, in a small voice, I was like, you shouldn't talk like this to your mom.
If you have kids with a malignant narcissist, my heart goes out to you. Really with any narcissist, but particularly malignants. Now, if you are in a household with a malignant narcissist, the situation is going to be set up as a dictatorship. I made a video about this if you want to check it out. There is no two-way relationship or collaborations with narcissists. Everybody, you've got to say and do exactly what the tyrant wants you to do. You must never ever speak against or challenge the narcissist's authority. If you don't know this, it's something that you're going to have to very quickly learn, and you're going to know, basically, in time, that there's no fairness in that house or that relationship. And in that family, whatever crazy-making rule that the narcissist invents, you're going to need to blindly follow and accept. That's the only way. And as you see, her dominance eventually wore him down, and he became unconsciously fearful to challenge her. So he accepted the law and the rules of the dictatorship, not because he thought that that was the right thing to do, but because it was too exhausting to oppose her, and he was afraid. Inside these relationship dynamics with narcissists, obviously, triangulation is a huge aspect. And when you put the narcissist, combine them with another parent, you have a 2. Children make a 3rd. Inside these relationships, family dynamics is the worst triangulation.
When I went to a psychiatrist, when we decided to divorce, I went to a psychiatrist. She told me, write down what was very remarkably unjust for you in your life with her and bring it to me, she said. I sit there, and in 10 minutes, I wrote 86 of them. When I finished it, it was more than 400. Those are not little things, weird stuff. Like, for example, this very, very famous rock singer came to my place from the other country, and there is no fight in the house that day. This person is someone that I'm a big fan of him when I was at the university, by the way, and we went to the airport to pick him up, and the next day I woke up and he woke up and we were in the living room and we were drinking coffee. She came downstairs crying. She grabbed the old telephone of the house, crying, and she threw the telephone on the wall behind him. It exploded on the wall, and the pieces came on to this guy. And she just ran upstairs crying loud. I was like, what? I went upstairs. I told her, who is dead? Someone is dead. Tell me, because that can be the only thing I can. She said, my mother said something wrong to her on the phone. What? That was incredible. This is not, you can't explain this to a normal person, that this is not normal. Supposedly she loves her grandfather very much, and the grandfather is living with her mother. And one night, this is happening like 6 years ago, her mom called me very deep in the night at 4 or 3 in the morning and said that he passed away. And she's together with the buddy in the house. And she couldn't reach anybody at that time because I'm a musician. She knows that I'm awake. And she wanted me to give this information to her daughter. We went together with my elder son to her, and we wake up. And I told her, we're sorry that we have to inform you that your grandfather passed away. And your mom is alone in the house and she's feeling terrified. She's expecting a call from you. And she said, did you wake me up for this? And she went back to sleep. Wow.
So in this instance, she started to show violence, and it's not even logical violence, and what I mean by logical violence is it doesn't make any sense. There's no reason for her to be in such a rage. It was an exaggeration overreaction. And she also showed with her grandfather's death that her words and actions were not in alignment. There was no empathy, no feeling. And violence, by the way, is never far away from eruption within a malignant narcissist, even though they do control it, and they are controlling it to most of the time with most people. But when you're behind closed doors with them, the longer that you're with them, you're going to see this more and more. And the reason that she was violent, I believe, in this particular moment with the telephone, obviously this was nothing to do with the phone call from her mother. This was just a very lame excuse because she was threatened by that musician in that house. She was no longer, in the center of attention, and she was scared of a loss of her power and control.
She makes this thing like, you're not a man enough, that you're not doing this, you're always doing this to the children, my father is someone like this, you can't be even half of my father. And then my justice part comes out and I say, oh, the father you're talking about that you didn't go to school for 3 years and he didn't even know? And the one who sent you to school for 2 years and paid everything, and this guy, and she grabbed a ball and hit it on my face, to my nose, just like that, bomb, like this. I didn't retaliate, and thank God I didn't do that, because it was a slip second of a lightning speed decision. Because if I would just hit it back, then she would tell everyone I was protecting myself. Instead of that, I went to the mirror and I said, now you're done. I'm going to the police station, I said. She was so scared she left the house for 1 month. It was incredible. And later, this history written many different ways. She is telling everyone, he hits me on the face with a slap, that's why I don't have a scar. But the kids are alibis for this, that I didn't do it. That's a lie.
So reactive abuse is very common, in these dynamics with malignant narcissists, because if you're a justice person, then being around a narcissist will drive you insane. Every single situation will be so unjust and so unfair. And I don't say that lightly. The injustice can make you crazy because situations, and what they say is just so wrong. And yet you're expected to just go along with the wrongness. And if they're violent to you, a favourite game of theirs is to play, and say that you were violent to them. Or somehow the violence that they did was valid. Yes, maybe it was self-defense. Whatever they will say, it will sound incredibly convincing. And they will make everybody think that whatever they've done to you, you've done to them. And when these malignant narcissists, they impart this fake story, they're great actors. And they're very controlled and it sounds very logical. They know what the real version of the truth is. And the survivor actually said that she did admit that she knew what the real version of the truth was. She knew that she was lying to people. They don't forget the truth. They just don't want the truth to be known by anybody. It ruins their reputation. It ruins how they look. And this can be obviously most effective for female narcissists to use, although male narcissists also use it. And they can convince anybody, male or female, that you're the one with the issues. You're the abuser. And if you do react to their abuse, it's even worse for you. It really is. It frames you.
Our house was robbed and we were all very traumatized. It was an invasion of our privacy and everything. And the next day we're going to the police station. She's driving the car because she's in control all the time. And I was not expecting to drive because my father never helped me drive. So you see, the trauma of my father is how affected me to choose this partner. And while we were going to the police station, and by the way, my wife never, ever jealous of me. She didn't care if I'm working with a girl in the studio. She never comes in the studio. Never, ever. She doesn't give a shit about it at all. But somehow that day, we were going to the police station with the kids. A very old lady was passing with a car and she stopped for us to pass. And because she stopped from the car, I told her like this. I gave this smile. Yeah, she started to yell at us, my wife. She said, why did you laugh at that woman? I said, what? What are you talking about? Let alone, she's an old lady, let alone. We're robbed and we're going to the police station and we're all in a very depression situation. And I'm not that person, by the way. And she started to shout. And we're still driving. It's like 5 kilometers to the police station. And it's snowing outside, everywhere is snow. And the kids in the back. And the kids start to tell her, why are you doing this? He just gave a nod for, a thank you nod. She stopped the car and she said, get the fuck out from my car. In the snow, we had to walk 2 kilometers to the police station just because of this situation, for example. And there is another situation where she attacked the next day of New Year night. We had some food, but the kids wanted something else also next to it. And she was so angry that she didn't want to cook this thing, and she got a Victorinox knife and she attacked the kitchen counter and her hands cut a couple places and she was trying to stab that's when I saw the rage, that moment, and the ball on my face moment. Those are the times vividly I see it in the face. I found a letter. I wrote it to myself in a Word format. I found it lately. I wrote this in 2004. We started to be together in 1995, 1996. Everything started around 1999, 2000-ish. The depression of her, the mood changing, started immediately in the house. The love bombing stage was very short. And there are some times that now I know that she was coming to me and telling me like, you don't know what's happening inside me. One day I'm going to harm you. And there's another incident where she said to one of my son, that she had a dream where she was murdering me in her dream and she was throwing me all over the walls and everything and destroying my body out. This is also very abnormal to tell this to a kid who is under 18 years old.
All malignant narcissists are very dangerous. Whether they're men or women, they can be extremely violent. They're capable of, you know what, red rumming. They are. And you know the violence levels usually escalate during the course of the relationship that you have. Most survivors, they have to flee by the end, usually for their lives, because they're with somebody very unhinged.
But until 2014, I did not know anything about narcissism or narcissistic disorder. I didn't have any information about this. And still, I'm not putting this diagnosis to anyone here. But this is what I experienced and this is what I feel. This is my personal opinion. We were cleaning the studio, the walls, and she, out of the blue, she turned me and she said that I went to a psychiatrist and she told me, you might have narcissistic personality disorder. I said, what's that? And she told me, forget now what I told you, she said. Like I'm a computer program. Okay, delete it. Come on. Later, she changed this history into different versions. Like she said, for example, I never told you that. You're just putting this into my mouth. Another version, she told me maybe you're a little bit too much uptight person, but never a narcissist. Another version. And the third version is, now I see you're not a narcissist. It's interesting for people. I want them to understand this, to share it with people. When I need the truth from her, an answer, she was sending too many dummies, like 200 things in the air. And the truth is somewhere there, by the way. The truth is also there. But you have to catch the right rabbit in this chaos. And if you put her on the stand in the courtroom, she can tell, I told the truth, because it is within this, and it is somewhere there.
This is a very interesting point, and it can be part of the narcissist's word salad. Narcissists are dripping in lies and deception. Truth, is actually a virtue. It's a spiritual, godly virtue, truth and love. And I see them as inseparable. Narcissists are without either. So the basis of narcissists are lies, and listening to lies and trying to find out truth is exhausting. They wear you down with their lies because we try to catch truth. And in order to not be found out, because it's a tactic used to cover their tracks, they say loads of different things, loads of different versions of different things, or the same thing. And this survivor said that she would send out the rabbits whenever he wanted truth. So he would have to try to catch the right one. And it's very much like a magic trick, a magician that's got the ball underneath the cups and is moving the cups. You have to keep on looking where the ball must be and then choose the right cup. And ultimately, this is used to exhaust and confuse you so much that you just stop pursuing the truth and you give up.
I like scientific explanations. I'm a rational guy. I'm not a superstitious person. That's why I didn't start with the story with what I'm going to tell now. Because a lot of people are so blocked in many ways, and they may think that we are building everything onto supernatural. But for me, supernatural or scientific explanation, it doesn't matter, the result is the same thing. Regarding the damage, I was always a spiritual person. I feel the God's light in me since I know myself. I can't explain this. It's like a waves of the ocean. The first thing I knew about myself was, even without thinking about the core of the evil and name them in any content, my first feeling was malignancy. Let's say not evil, the word, because we have a specific situation with evil now. Malignancy can't come near me was my first feeling about myself. I don't know how to explain this. It can't touch me. That was a big confidence in me that it can't come to me directly. 9-10 years before I met my wife, it was in 1986. I was together with I had a girlfriend, and my girlfriend was she raised in another country in Europe, and she knew 5 languages with very high IQ, like 145, something like that. Her mom was attended to university for psychology. She was a very educated woman. I was so young, and I was in my rock and roll days with my long hair, and I'm not trying to be a thinker too much. One day, in a New Year night, she was not with me that night. I was together with a couple, like 10, 11 friends. We celebrated the New Year night in a friend's apartment, and one of the guys said, let's make an OG board session with the spirit. And I was, I didn't even attend to it. Like, I didn't put my finger, I'm just, watching it, what they're doing. And they it's moving with the fingers on. I'm just thinking automatically if someone is obviously pushing it, it's very easy to do this. Even one small movement, everybody tends to follow it, logical. After 5 minutes, it came towards me, even if my finger is not there, and it wrote something like, you're gonna die when you're 27 years old. And I told him some bad words. I said, you're already dead, so I don't think that I'm going to be dead. Now, come on, guys. I just dismissed the situation just like that. I didn't care, Come on, are you really believing in this? It doesn't mean that I don't believe in higher power, but this was like a child's game.
People don't take Ouija boards seriously. They use them as toys and they think that they're just a bit of fun at a party, but they're not. They're not aware of what they're actually potentially getting involved with. Because if you believe in the spiritual world, as I do, then the spiritual world has higher and lower levels. But I think it's something to be aware of, what kinds of entities or spirits would likely be communicating through these kinds of boards. And this is why these boards are so dangerous, because unknowingly we could open a door to an entity of a lower nature, of a negative nature, that we would not want to give an invitation to.
My girlfriend was not there, by the way. She was not experiencing this or seeing it. After the next day, I went to her place and she told me, without knowing that situation, she told me she had terrifying nightmare that this dark being visited her. And I just said, oh, it must be a nightmare. Don't worry about it. After a couple of days, she said, every night it's coming to my dream. I told her, call me into your dream, and it stops coming. This is how I, feel the situation. And normally I was going to her place when my dad went to bed. I would take a cab and went to her place because my dad thinks that I'm sleeping, so I can be with her, It like 2 a.m, I rang the bell and she's crying. I said, what happened? Half an hour ago, the door was rang and I opened it and there was a darkest figure and it started to get serious language between us. This story, it's in our life now. And at that time, I was going to university for graphic art. I attended there for 2 years, and I was carrying my ink and big drawing paper. And I came to her place after school. We eat something. It's still on the middle of the living room, on the table, my stuff. She's not drawing anything in her life. She's not a drawer. She drew 7 drawings. With her eyes went back. She doesn't see because the ink bottle is so small. And she's putting the pencil like this to inside without seeing it in front of me and her mother. We're seeing this, and she's so fast on those drawings, like an automatic writing. There's this house. There's an incredible perspective. Since I'm going to graphic art, I know perspective. So the house is there. There are trees in different 7 drawings. It's another face of the house, and the trees' perspective are exactly correct for that angle. Okay. There are always 3 figures on the right side. Little ones, like simple figures. These are not very clear artistic drawings. I'm telling you about a sketch kind of things, and very two-dimensional things. But the 3 things on the right, every drawing, they are reacting to the situation. For example, they're scared. On the next one, they're showing something. On the third one, they're happy about. There is this 3. Now I think those are me and my 2 sons. I'm going to comment to you later. This is happening in 1986. And on the first drawing, there's this house, and there is this garden, and there is this fire she drew, and there are eyes on the fire. It's a very kitsch thing to draw eyes on fire. It's not a common thing that you don't see it everywhere, okay? But it doesn't make any sense either when you see this. What's that? Fire and eyes. But I tell you now, I make a jump 10 years later. The first house with my wife. It's the first, maybe the 6 months that we're there. She went to her somewhere to stay to her parents, and I'm alone in the house. I was at that time writing lyrics for my upcoming album, and there's this boat, and they made this boat like a coffee, and there are like 18 tables on it. And I go there like every day, like 8-9 p.m. I go there, I drink a coffee, and I start to write my lyrics. So I went down alone, and there was this newsstand, little place, and I saw a magazine. I purchased it, and there was a bank that I could sit next to the sea. I opened the first page of the magazine, a whole one-piece caricature on the first page, one big fire and many eyes on it. First, to be honest, I didn't remember where I saw this, because it's been 10 years, but it's incredibly familiar. And I have, where do I remember this? Was my first reaction. And I immediately remembered it very quickly. And I'm shocked because, wow, man, it's exactly the same. Who thinks to draw something like this after that? What a coincidence, But let me give you this. I lost around half an hour, 20 minutes that I didn't go to that cafe. While I was losing this time over there, looking at this thing, there was a mafia shooting targeted this boat, and everybody killed sitting on the tables, and I was not there. And I was 27 years old when this happened. Remember when it told me that you're gonna die when you're 27? So I think I was protected by because it's a very clever prophecy. Like it doesn't tell you that this will happen. It gives you a special sign. If you remember that with your free will, it's up to you. If you remember that, so you don't go there. The proof is always in front of you, if you know how to read the signs. But it's not something like a paranoia. I'm not telling anyone to bring a meaning out from everything. I'm not telling this. But sometimes the inner voice screams that it's the sign, and you follow that, and you always write about it, but you have to be ready to hear it.
It's interesting because at the time his girlfriend didn't know what was communicated through that Ouija board at the party, and when she did those drawings, I believe this was a one-off. She'd never done it before, and she never did it again. And in that moment her eyes rolled back into her head, so you could just see the white of her eyes. And she didn't know what she was doing. But in that particular moment, it sounds very much like she was channeling. And those were something like what we call predictive drawings. And it's strange that one of these drawings saved his life, but not a drawing directly, but the memory of the drawing.
Let's go back to the drawings. This was number 2 of the 7 collection. And unfortunately, I have only the 6th one survived. The other ones are lost. But the 6th one, now I see it because it happened, because those drawings are incredible in this way. You understand them when it happens. On the 6th one, it is telling the 2017 incident where she hit me with the ball on my face. Exactly the same stuff. Now I'm going to tell you the whole thing. There is this house. There is hard to see, and by the way, I gave this to ChatGPT and it made an analyzing of this. It's interesting to see that, because there are also some Arabic languages written from right to left, and my girlfriend back then couldn't even speak good, and then they're all meaning there. So in the 6th one, there is this struggle in the house, and you can see a figure is just doing something, and the other one on the nose part, there's a white spot there. But on the left side, the next day when she hit me, the next day she left the house, and I woke up for this beautiful bird we had, a buggy, amazing bird. It was dead the next day when I woke up. And because it was big love with my sons, and this little buddy was a great friend of us, I sit there on the stairs of connecting our house to the gate of our house. I sit on the stairs in my hand with this bird, with what happened yesterday, and now this is gone. On the left side of this drawing, I'm sitting there with a bird-like figure in my hand on the stairs. And I remember the 7th picture, and I don't have it, but the 7th one is that house is demolishing down, and someone is crashing the house, and the 3 little figures on the right side are happy. I think that's our divorce. And I think this was meant to be. It was an examination. And by the way, those 7 drawings and a couple of weeks later that, it's an important information that I should give. I've been together with my old girlfriend for 9 years, and this thing happened in the first year, and nothing on the next 8 years about spirits. But the pattern is interesting, because after 10 years, in 1996, when I met my wife, and when we start to be together, she told me, without knowing my story with what happened 10 years ago, she told me that there's a dark being is coming to her dreams. What a coincidence. I told her about what happened back then. I didn't make a connection like the same thing is following me, kind of. But I told her, when this something like this happened before, I heard from another friend of mine, and I told her that call me into your dream and it can never come back again. And I told this to her, and she said, it worked. And by the way, in the beginning of our relationship, she gave me something to wear, a little like a talisman but closed, and I took it to I was wearing it because she told me it's a protective prayer from I'm not a religious person. I don't believe in religion. I have a direct connection with the Creator in my heart. I don't need a flying airplane company to be in touch with it. Kind of like religions for me is like this airplane firm, or but that's why I believe in prayers, even if you pray it in your own language, not the Quran language, or whatever, how you do it, it doesn't matter, for me. So I wore it, and I went to my city, and my mom saw it, and she said, what's that you're wearing? I said, it's a protective, my wife gave it to me. She took it. My mom is a very she's not a religious person either, and she's from conservatory, and she's from the ballet, classic ballet, but she didn't like it. Maybe her age is don't allow her. Those people, the age people, they believe in those things. So she was angry. She came back to me after the information. She said that I went to not a priest but some person, and they opened it, and it was cat skin with kind of a blood written on it. It's about binding, written about how to bind two people together, a spell. And I went back to and I told my wife that I'm not going to wear this, and because my mom told this, and how did you do this? Come on. I'm going to throw it out, I said. She said, no, don't throw it out. It was not a bad thing. It was a protect both of us. We paid too much. My mom paid too much money for. Don't throw it. Give it to me. And she doesn't want me to throw it away. And then my sister found another one on the cupboards up on there. It was another thing. And then my mom, after some months, she found something in the bed. These were all the first time it was, and her family was believing in those stuff. That I know that at that time they were visiting some person about their own things. But I didn't care. I said to my parents, oh, come on, the devil can't touch me. It touches you not by itself, but poking you with something else, like. The next phase was dead animals on our garden all the time. Not every day, of course, but I can tell you, like, the last 5 years period, we stayed in this house for 21 years, okay? This house is the house where all the drawings are about. It was a very clean spirit house that you feel very comfortable inside when we moved in. And we stayed 21 years. And the inside energy of the house started to get weakened. And without realizing it, it became very heavy. And without knowing and talking to each other, my kids and myself was started to not want to go to the attic. I started to feel weaker and weaker under this influence or control of this struggle relationship. I think the energy, this negative energy, started to grow stronger in the house, and it accumulated in the attic, I believe. This is my feeling about it. And that's why on the last 5-6 years span, I can tell you, like, 4 or 5 cats were found. We found the dead bodies of 6 cats in the garden. I'm not telling that my dog killed them. And because of that, dog is also died in that house. Young died, by the way. Many dead birds. Again, we find dead crows, dead birds on the. It's like a pattern. We find all the time dead animals in that area. Later, this is the interesting part. There was this smell. It suddenly comes like a. For example, if you have an odor because maybe you have a bad day of your stomach, or it's a human thing. It's okay, but it's there. It's not coming like that. I wake up with that, and it's coming from that person. And sometimes I find the room. She opens the window because she quits smoking cigarettes. That's what she was telling. She's in the very cold winter days, inside, smoke coming out from your mouth, and the sleeping room is that cold, and she's sleeping there. Dude, this is an Exorcist movie for me. It's not then, but when I look back now. It's the Exorcist thing, the smell and the smoke, and maybe I'm too stretching out the meaning, I don't know, but this is how I feel. And by the way, Rio was dead. The next day, she hit me with the ball. The next day, we found Rio's body. And by the way, after Rio, she came back after 1 month. We purchased 3 more birds, and no one lived more than a couple of months in the house. And we don't know why, because we're giving the same stuff. I buy the best food. And when we moved out from that house, because the owner sold the house, so we had to move out after 21 years, this is where we divorced. I think the energy of the house was dismissed because they demolished the house, just like the drawing. And in the new house, it was a new house, built house. In that house, I think that's why we finally came to a place where we divorced, because the power was weakened. We changed the house. This is my theory. Just before she left the house, like a week before, suddenly we never had an encounter like that, because it's a new house. We've been there for 3 years, never ever saw something like this. There was suddenly 6 mouses in the house jumping all over the place just before she left. But later, when I made a research with ChatGPT and with some old information, there's a belief in the Middle Ages that 6 mouses are visible when a spell is broken. I don't know if it's true, but I read this.
I do think that it's possible for our houses to grow in negative energy. Absolutely. I believe the survivor was totally right, that she did have power in that house. And it doesn't sound like that was her own human power either. It did sound quite supernatural. And if you haven't seen it, then do check out that video that I made with the quote from Sri Aurobindo, because I think that it explains a lot in this circumstance, and I'm going to link it down below. Now, disincarnate spirits and low astral entities, also of a demonic nature, they're able to gain earthly influence and be quite powerful when they've got a human portal like a malignant narcissist to work through. And when we share a house, we come under their influence. And this is why a lot of people find it really hard to get away. It's like being trapped inside Dracula's castle, and you're being drained basically of your life force. And you do have some strange power over you, some kind of a spell binding that's keeping you there. Even though there's the door, you could just open it and walk out of it. It's never like that. And it's an interesting point that not only did the shooting happen when he was 27, but the narcissist arrived in his life at age 27 as well. And to be honest with you, I believe that these malignant narcissists, they're almost like spiritual assassins. Sometimes, who knows, they could have been assigned to us. And what struck me when he shared about the talisman and the dead animals, when I speak with other survivors, it's a way to evaluate patterns. And as I remember, there were many dead animals actually landing in and around the house that I shared with the malignant narcissist at the time. And it was strange, but you don't think about it then. And I was also given a talisman, and I was told that it was for good luck. These malignant narcissists, they do have occult knowledge coming in from somewhere. I mean, that is for sure. But it's not usually from their studies, because most of them have never studied it. Yet what they do, what they know, is quite powerful, and it doesn't work. And some of these details, I know they can seem like they're embellished a little bit too much, like a horror film. But this is actually not the first time a survivor of malignant narcissist is saying that there was a particular smell. And I know, like I said, this can sound laughable and crazy, but this is not speaking about body odor. He's not speaking about somebody that's got bad armpits or doesn't take showers. He's talking about a smell that comes on very, very strong and then just disappears. And this isn't a regular smell. And like I said, he is not the first survivor that I'm hearing this from. I never experienced it myself, but there definitely does seem to be a pattern there.
But one thing I know, after she was gone, we're 90% healed very quickly. I'm carrying a lot of scars. The good thing is nothing can take away the belief in love in me. It's untouched, still inside, and I'm still carrying the same power. But at the same time, I hate injustice. This is maybe my weak point. I'm still angry. This is the only thing on my shoulders, and I'm trying to handle this. I definitely want to give some suggestions to people who are listening to us right now. I'll give you this. Everybody says this in every channel, that's cut the relationship. And it's a very subtle sentence. And it doesn't sound as important as it should. But I'll give you this. They really feed from the fight. The only way they don't drain you because the anger is the benzene of the petrol of this thing, that when you have this thing and then you just react. And when you react, they take it from you because now they have the attention and they're energy vampires. So you don't have energy left for the good in your life anymore because you are in the state of this negative. Let's think about the quantum thing. Like, it turns into the left field, not the positive side. You start to roll in the negative part. So your energy is closer to the depth of this darkness. You're not going up; you're going down with them. I'm not accusing anyone again. I'm not pointing fingers. I didn't give any names. It's all my life and my experience personally. But I just know that it was not normal what I've been through. It was very painful. It is really hard to get back on your feet. And even if I'm a strong guy, I will tell you this. I have a spiritual power in me that I have it in me. And it's a hard thing to get back on your feet again. It's too many things. It's so they're breaking you so bad in many ways. But I tell you this, I feel 10 years younger just after 3 months when she was gone. I lost 11, 12 kilograms directly like this. Since 2 to 3 years, not too much. I was drinking a little bit. I started to drink when she was there. I didn't drink anymore when she was gone. And I never had alcohol problem in my entire life. Now I think and now I see it's like all about resurrecting again. And believe in God is really powerful and really helps.
I completely agree. And, I've said it myself, it's a resurrection. We have to resurrect because everything of our former selves has practically been burnt to the ground. And so we need to raise ourselves from the dead. But this isn't to raise ourselves as a zombie. This isn't to come back as a shell of our former selves. This is to rebirth. Because we've descended and we've travelled into darkness. And we need to raise ourselves from the dead. And yet also realise again that time's not linear. It's been made that way. But let's go back when time was considered to move in cycles. Life, death, rebirth. You've got to think of it like this. After any kind of death, there is a rebirth. Then what we experience in narcissistic abuse is not the end, but it's the start point of a new life, of a rebirth. And like any birth, it does have pain. And lessons are painful, growth is painful, but scars, they eventually turn into wisdom. And even though many things have been lost, many things have also been added. And no, it's not normal what anybody's been through. But like what this survivor experienced, as I did, so many others, once the narcissist is gone from your life, this is the start of something new and something way better, way healthier. And we can rebalance ourselves and we can resurrect because they were the poison of our lives. It is work, but it's our life to reclaim. It's ours. We get a chance of life because the narcissists, they're not living. And it's our life that they wanted. That's why we owe it to ourselves to damn them and resurrect anyway. No matter how hard it is, be patient with yourself. You will resurrect. you will have rebirth. So I really hope that you've enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, sending love, and I will see you all again next week.